Hello and welcome to the Love Her podcast. My name is Laura. I'm your host, and I am so excited to start this journey with you. This podcast is for the high achieving woman, the woman who has accomplished goal after goal, the woman who knows her potential, who knows her worth, who knows she is meant to make a bigger impact. And yet, she is a woman who feels stuck. This podcast is for the woman who is not only ready to own her success, but is ready to reach even higher. You are that woman. Let's rediscover what it means to be her. Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Love Her podcast. My name is Laura and I am your host. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you listened to the first episode and are returning for more, welcome back. Either way, I am so glad you are here. In the first episode, I talked about my journey of healing and self-discovery over the past 4 years and really just an overview of my experiences that led me here on this career of being a life coach, a hypno breathwork facilitator, and now a podcast host. And honestly, I have so much to share with you. 4 years is a long time to work on yourself, and sometimes I even forget the person I was back then. The fears I had, the emptiness inside of me, the loneliness I felt, and more than anything, the disconnection I felt from my true self. And so with this podcast, I want to get into all the things, and I promise to be vulnerable and honest about what I have gone through to get here and what I'm still going through to get closer to her, that higher version of me. Because it truly is a work in progress. I say this a lot. You can ask any of my one-on-one clients, but life is about progress, not perfection. And don't worry, we'll do a whole episode on that as well. But today, what I'd like to dive into is one of my favorite topics, and that is your intuition versus your ego. I'm sure you've heard these terms, but maybe you've never really given them much thought. I know 4 years ago, I hadn't. These terms were honestly just not part of my vocabulary. I had never thought about my intuition or my ego, and I definitely was not aware of how much my ego was holding me back and how much my intuition was screaming for me to just stop and listen so that I could start moving forward. Just having the realization of what these words meant was huge. And then doing the work to discover what they meant for me and my journey changed everything for me. Okay, so let's start with your ego. If you Google the word ego, here's the definition you get: a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. So, ego often gets a bad rap, but the truth is it's not all bad. In the self-development world, we think of it as a protector. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in your comfort zone. And sometimes that is a good thing. It helps to avoid decisions that are not in your best interest. It helps to keep you safe and comfortable. Here's the problem, however, that often arises with your ego. It sees change as scary, as being something you should avoid. It wants you to stay in your comfort zone, even when your comfort zone isn't actually a place of comfort. It's simply a place that is familiar. And I realize that probably sounds confusing. Why would your ego want you to stay in a situation, in a relationship, at a job where you don't actually feel comfortable? You don't feel happy. You don't feel fulfilled. And here's the answer. Because your ego sees familiar as comfortable. It doesn't actually see comfort, happiness, fulfillment. Its main job is to keep you in the familiar because your ego equates familiar as safe. Change is scary for your ego. Even when you logically know it is a good change, that it will move you forward, it's still change. And your ego is going to fight you. It is going to try to keep you in your comfort zone. So I want you to think about a big goal or even a small one that you are having a hard time moving forward with. What is coming up for you? Are you finding excuses like you don't know how to take the first step? You aren't ready. You aren't smart enough. It's already been done. Whatever the excuse is, this is your ego talking. Okay, yes, there are times when you aren't actually ready. Sometimes you do need to educate yourself more or get more experience before you take a big leap. However, most of the time, when we hold ourselves back from something we really want, when we continue to hold ourselves back from actually even taking the first step towards a goal or a dream, it's your ego. It is giving you excuses so that you can stay in that comfort zone because, quite frankly, it's scared. And what I want you to realize is that it's okay to be afraid of change. It's normal. We all feel it. Even when we know it's a good change, even when we believe so much in our dream, in our goal, it's okay to feel fear because we all have an ego that is trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us in our familiar. And it's not about getting rid of your ego, it's about becoming aware of it. Because here's the thing, we can't get rid of it. It's there for a reason. It often does keep us safe, and it also often holds us back. And it's our job to recognize when it is holding us back. It's our job to recognize the fear and then ask ourselves, where is this fear coming from? Do I truly need to be afraid? Or is it my ego just trying to keep me safe? Or, in other words, in the familiar? And that's a powerful question. And I'm going to give you a fairly obvious example for this. Most of us are afraid of public speaking. Do we really need to be afraid? If you're anything like me, your heart will start to race, your palms will start to sweat, your knees will start to shake. You are essentially activating that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight. And that fight or flight response was really more for the caveman when they were being chased by lions. That was a moment where they truly needed to feel that fear and have that reaction to be able to run and hopefully survive. However, standing in front of a group of people and simply speaking does not have that same level of danger. We don't have a lion chasing us. Our life is not at risk. And yet, for many of us, our body reacts that way. I'm sure a lot of you listening would rather run out of a room than give a keynote speech. So, why is that? Why do we react so strongly? It has a lot to do with our ego. Because for many of us, public speaking is not in our comfort zone. It feels different. It feels scary. And our ego tells us that if we screw it up, we will feel embarrassed. We will feel less than. And it tells us we need to be scared. Because sitting in the audience and keeping quiet, that keeps us safe. It keeps us in our comfort zone. But what if you want to speak up? What if you want to be heard? What if you want to feel seen? What if you want more out of your life? Well, then, my friend, you get to challenge your ego. You get to accept that change almost always brings a certain level of uncertainty and fear. And it also gives you the chance to grow, to have new experiences, and quite frankly, to live a more exciting and fulfilling life. You get to choose courage. You get to do it scared. You get to take the step even when you don't feel ready. And you get to accept that your ego will try to fight you. Let me tell you, in the last 4 years, I have battled my ego so many times. I have heard it all from my ego. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You can't handle success. You're not ready. No one's going to want to listen to your podcast. You can't start a business. You're too busy. You're a mom. You're in your 40s. It's too late for you to change. You can't be a life coach. You don't even have your life figured out. Okay, you get the idea. I have definitely struggled with my ego, and I still do because, like I said, you can't get rid of your ego. I have done some pretty deep work the past 4 years, and my ego has come right along with me for the ride. It's not going anywhere, and honestly, that's okay. Because once you have the awareness of it, then you get to decide whether or not you listen to it. You will have negative thoughts no matter how much work you do on yourself, no matter how much confidence you gain. you will still have negative thoughts. You will still have moments of doubt. We all do. Even super successful people that look like they have it all, because it's part of being human. And when you have those negative thoughts, you get to start asking yourself, how is this thought keeping me in my comfort zone? How is it holding me back? It's not about guilting or shaming yourself for past decisions or for feeling scared to take a step out of your comfort zone. It is simply about becoming aware. That is the first huge step. And honestly, most people never take it. Most people never become aware. Most people allow their ego to run the show their entire life. And because of that, most people don't realize their full potential. So, welcome. Welcome to awareness. You are not most people. You are here because you have the courage to become more aware of your ego. This is a good moment to maybe press pause and ask yourself, how has your ego been keeping you small? How has it been holding you back? What have you been telling yourself that you're not ready for, that you're not good enough for? And what would change for you if you let yourself believe you are ready and that you are good enough? I hope that you give yourself that gift to start recognizing when the negative voice in your head is simply your ego trying to hold you back, and that you have the courage to challenge it and step out of your comfort zone and ultimately give yourself the chance to really listen to your intuition and start to move yourself forward. Because we always have our ego and intuition guiding us, and it's up to you to decide which one you listen to. And there's that lovely word, intuition. Intuition is something that I have become quite passionate about because learning to listen to and follow my intuition has been the biggest game changer for me on this journey of growth and self discovery and self love. So here's the definition of intuition according to Google. It is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So, one thing I love about this definition is the last part about not needing conscious reasoning because your intuition is more subconscious. I think of it more as a feeling, a deep inner knowing that you often just can't quite explain. It's those moments where you say, I don't know why, but I just knew I was making the right decision. Or when you just have a bad feeling about someone or something with no real explanation for that feeling. And then later you realize why. Or you do something completely out of character for you and it ends up bringing something amazing into your life. So, your intuition is this deep inner knowing that we all have inside. We all have it sending us messages and guiding us in life. But the problem is, many of us never allow ourselves to get quiet and truly listen to it. Or we explain it away. We talk about coincidences and we attribute it to something outside of us. And we never actually acknowledge that it was our intuition. It came from within. And most of us have not even come close to tapping into the power of our intuition. And so, what if you did listen? What if you started getting quiet, going within, and actually following your intuition? I can tell you from experience, you will be amazed at the power you have to change your life when you learn to not only listen to your intuition, but when you start taking action and follow that inner knowing. Now, the part of that definition for intuition that doesn't feel so true to me is the first part, the ability to understand something immediately. Because here's the thing, my intuition was telling me for years that I was meant for more. I heard that loud and clear. But what did that mean? I didn't know. And I didn't know how to follow it because your intuition doesn't just give you a roadmap, it doesn't hand you step by step instructions on the steps you need to take. It guides you, but it's up to you to take the steps. It's your actions that ultimately determine your life. And sometimes it even guides you towards something you're not even meant for. And in those situations, it's often a lesson that you needed to learn to be able to grow and overcome and become a higher version of you. Oftentimes, the direction our intuition steers us doesn't make sense at the moment. So it also takes a lot of belief in yourself and what you're meant for and what you're capable of. And it requires you to also surrender to the knowing that you can have a plan for your life, but maybe, just maybe, the universe has an even better one. Because let's be honest, there are an infinite number of possibilities for how your life can go. So, what do you think are the chances that you've already planned out exactly how it's meant to be? What if you open yourself up to the possibility that maybe life can be even better than you imagined? So, listening to your intuition is definitely something that takes work. I'll say it over and over again, and I say this to my one on one clients all the time: progress over perfection. Let me just give you an example of two of the biggest mistakes I was making that kept me stuck for years. First, I didn't truly listen. I had a feeling I was meant for more, but I never acted on it. I just sat there waiting for an epiphany. I was waiting for that moment when it would finally just come to me and I would know what I was meant for. I was waiting for something or someone to save me. I was going through the motions every day, keeping myself so busy and so distracted, like most of us are, and I was waiting. But I wasn't giving myself stillness. I wasn't allowing myself to connect with my intuition. I was going, keeping myself so busy and so distracted, so disconnected from myself. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. It's so easy to do in this fast paced world. And even today, with all the lessons I've learned and the work I have done, I still have to remind myself constantly to slow down and let myself just be. But back then, I didn't even know what it meant to be present with myself. I didn't realize the importance of it and the impact it could have on my life. And so now looking back, I realized there was a moment, even before I started this journey of self discovery, when I would actually connect with my intuition. Even though I didn't realize in that moment that that is what was happening, it was always when I was in the shower. And that might seem silly, but it actually makes so much sense because that was the only time in my life where I experienced stillness. No phone, no TV, no email, no music, no kids asking me a million questions, no one to talk to, just me and my thoughts. And I would often have this feeling take over me, this deep inner knowing that my life was meant to be more, that I was meant for more. And in that moment, I would feel it so strongly. It almost felt like this aching in my heart. And I would think, someday I'm going to figure it out. Someday I will have the big epiphany, the big aha moment, and my life will change. And that was my second mistake. I was waiting. And I didn't know what I was waiting for. I didn't know what I was looking for. And instead of trying to figure it out, I just kept waiting. And as I shared in the first episode on my 38th birthday, I finally had the realization that nothing and no one was coming to save me. I thought I had to know exactly what to do before I could take that first step. But all I had was a feeling. I didn't have a direction. I didn't have an answer. And what do you do with a feeling? I felt lost. And so essentially, on my 38th birthday, I gave up. And as I spiraled downward over the next few months, luckily my husband held up the mirror for me and made me face my truth, the fact that I was miserable. Because I had stopped listening to my intuition. Every time that feeling of wanting more came back, I tried pushing it down. I tried telling myself it was wrong, that I wasn't capable of more, that I wasn't meant for more. And I began to feel more and more empty. So, in that moment, when my husband pushed me to face my truth, I didn't exactly have a big epiphany. The answer didn't come, but I did have a big realization. Maybe I am meant for more. Maybe life gets to be so much better. And maybe it's up to me to start taking action towards it. Maybe it is up to me to save myself. And that's when everything started to change for me. I not only started listening to my intuition, I started following it. I started taking action. That doesn't mean I really knew exactly what to do. I woke up that next morning and simply Googled women empowerment and found a podcast that resonated with me. And that one very simple step honestly felt so huge. I remember actually shaking as I searched podcasts because it was a moment that felt so powerful. I felt the belief in myself, even though I had just been at my rock bottom. I felt power in clicking play because I knew it was my first step towards learning to love myself, learning who I was, who I wanted to be, and ultimately what I was meant for. And it felt really scary and really exciting at the same time because I was no longer letting my ego run the show. I was finally choosing courage, and I decided to step out of my comfort zone. Now, as I listened to that podcast, I had no idea what my next step would be, and I definitely could not have imagined how that first step would lead to so many more over the next few years. If you had told me 4 years later that I would be a podcast host and a life coach and a hypno breathwork facilitator, that I would have successfully coached business owners and CEOs and lawyers and Olympic medalists and other life coaches and ultimately some of the most impressive people I've ever met, and that my coaching would change their lives and help them move forward, I know that I would not have believed you. Because although I had belief, I did not yet have the confidence and the experience. I hadn't yet learned the lessons. I hadn't yet experienced the growth it took to become her, the version of me that was ready for all of that. So as I look back now, I am so glad that my intuition didn't show me exactly what I was meant for because I wasn't ready. And my ego definitely was not ready for that much change. It would have felt too scary, too impossible. And I doubt I would have had the courage to take that first step. And so I am so grateful that my intuition didn't give up and that I didn't give up. Instead, I chose to start taking small actions, to step out of my comfort zone and challenge my ego in small ways. Because if you truly want to change your life, if you want to create change, it happens through small steps every day. And yes, sometimes you will take leaps, but it takes those small steps first to build the courage and the experience and the confidence to truly be ready to take them. Because each day, with each small step, you are growing. You are becoming the woman who is ready for more. You are becoming the woman who is ready to discover what you are meant for. And when you choose courage, you get to realize what you are capable of. If you have a deep inner knowing inside of you that you are meant for more, if you have a dream that you just can't shake, it's because it's your truth. It's your intuition guiding you towards the life you are meant for. And maybe all you have to do is get quiet and let yourself listen to it. Let yourself follow it. And maybe right now for you, that means jumping in the shower and letting yourself be alone with your thoughts. Maybe it means going for a walk. Maybe you meditate or do a breathwork session. Maybe you journal. Whatever you decide, I hope you do give yourself more time to become more aware of your ego and to connect with your intuition, with your deep inner knowing, because you, my friend, are so worth it. You get to start living a life that feels good right now. You are worthy and you are capable of so much more. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This podcast is a huge example of me following my intuition and overcoming my ego. Honestly, it's scary to put yourself out there in such a big way and risk the judgment and risk the failure. And it's also so exciting to follow my deep inner knowing that my voice matters and that in some small way, I can make a difference. So I hope that my courage will inspire you to find yours. Let yourself discover your own answers because it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to have doubt. And you get to challenge your ego and start listening to your intuition. Because here's the bottom line and the big difference between your ego and your intuition. Your ego will try to hold you back, it will try to keep you in your comfort zone. Your intuition will challenge you because it knows what you're capable of and it does not want you to settle. And neither do I. If no one has sat you down and told you that they believe in you, let me be that person right now. You got this. Let's choose courage together. Let's start following that intuition and discover what you're meant for. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. You can DM me on Instagram at Laura Kistner Coaching. I absolutely love reading your reflections and just connecting with you. And if you are feeling the pull to really start taking action and learn how to listen to that intuition, click on the link in the show notes and schedule a discovery call with me because I would love to help you realize your dreams. And last, if you enjoyed this episode of the Love Her podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast and share it with someone you love because we all need someone to believe in us. And maybe you could be that person for someone you love. I believe in you and can't wait to see you on the next episode.